want to welcome everyone to another episode of the Marketing Center of Excellence Best Practices Spotlight. I'm Lane Houck, your host, and today I have not just one, but two very special guests with me. I call them the commitment couple. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me. And for our audience who are going to get a chance to peek inside the amazing world at Hite Digital, at JC and Karen Hite, I want to welcome you to the show. Thanks a lot for spending some time with me this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Lane. And we're so excited to share and have this conversation. And our first conversation was super fun, and I'm excited to see what we're going to discuss today.
Hopefully we can add some good value to the group.
Beautiful. And I know you will. We got to spend, just for all of us, those of you who are listening or will listen, I got to spend really almost 45 minutes to an hour with JC and Karen in prep for this meeting today. And this are an amazing couple running an amazing company and a couple of different things that we'll get to hear more about today. So to start off, I usually end the show with the question of if you could leave one kind of nugget for our audience, what's the biggest insight that's led to your success? So I'm going to end with that like we usually do, but because there's two of you, I'm going to also start off with that. So I'm going to let you guys choose who gets to answer first and who gets to answer last. And I want to, whoever's going to answer first, let's start off with that, and then we'll also end with that.
So for us, you mentioned the word a few minutes ago, but we're all about commitments, and commitments specifically that drive people. Entrepreneurship sucks. It's hard. It's painful. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work. There's great times followed by terrible times, hopefully followed by great times again. And through that journey, what we found at Hite is that we try to drill into what are you committed to? What is something that is noble that we say is worth fighting for? It's worth fighting for. And so for us, we predominantly are in Central America, in Nicaragua, where the average education is the fourth grade. We have political issues. We've got a lot of problems with instability. And that is our commitment. We're very committed to providing education to kids here in Nicaragua. And so we let our company drive us. So when we're having a bad day. And so that's our motivation. You hear these stories of moms picking up a car because their kids are under it. So how do you connect your job, your work, to something that's more noble, your purpose? Simon Sinek calls it a why. We like to use the word committed, but no matter what you're doing, if you can find a commitment worth fighting for, it can be your driving touch.
That's a really good way to start off. You're right. If we're not committed to it, and you're dead on right when you say entrepreneurship sucks, it's hard, it's challenging. If you're not committed to it, and that's why the churn rate at the Small Business Administration is so high, and you guys get to see it at a macro level where you're at. So give us a little background. Let's, for those who may not know JC and Karen Hite or have been exposed to your world before, give us a little background and what you do and who you are.
So we have, like you mentioned, different things. Our main thing is our agency, right? That's where we put all of our effort and focus. And from that, we found that as we continue to grow and scale our own agency, there were things that we needed. And one of them was just continue to be people that search for education, for knowledge. And so what we decided after starting Hite is that we needed to be part of those rooms, part of those places where we could grow and connect with people, peers that understand what it is. Because I feel like when we're in the agency space, and depending, we have an office, but most people are virtual. And so it's a very lonely place. It's really hard to talk to people. And so you get to talk to your teammates or your family or your friends. And most people don't have that many entrepreneur friends. So it becomes this burden to business instead of being an engine, a vehicle that continues to use that fuel that is the commitment to do stuff, right? We decided from creating Hite that we wanted to pursue education as well. And that's when we started creating Master Hackers, which is where I'm focused on. That's my day to day, which is really a place where we go to learn. It's actually not one of those places where most people will come and share, even though we do share, but it's JC and I were taking notes there. The people that we're inviting to talk, or even our own members that are there. And I feel like that has been a major thing. And I'll share more about that at the end. And through that, we found that why stop there and just our circle, which is very important to us to have a very private place where we go and reset, our masterminds. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's our retreat to talk about business and connecting in a deeper way. But then we decided, let's do the Commitment Summit, which is what we have in Costa Rica. So those are the main 3 things that we have going on. We have other businesses as well that we can talk about, but those are the main things that I think are the vehicles that we're using today to fulfill our commitment.
So our agency, 200 employees, multiple 8 figures, 5 years in business,
25 locations,
25 locations in the US, right?
It's a franchise model. And then Master Hackers, which is our inner circle, and then the Commitment Summit, which is our yearly event in Costa Rica.
Which I'm coming to. So for all of you who are going to listen to this, I'm really looking forward to being in Costa Rica with the Heights and all of your team and the amazing Master Hacker group. I'm sure a lot of them will be coming. But actually, JC and Karen were kind enough to give everyone at the Marketing Center of Excellence or who will listen and wants to go a discount. So that's actually, I'll put that in the ticker right now. If you're interested in learning more about the Commitment Summit in Costa Rica this June, check it out, the commitmentsummit.com. And then there's a 10% discount code MCOE. So tell us about the Commitment Summit since we're on that topic. I'm looking forward to being there, but give us an insight into, it's not just, this isn't the first year, you've been doing it for a couple of years. Give us some insight into that.
It's very simple. It's a luxury event strictly for agency owners. Most agency owners are doing $1 million plus, probably on average, but at a minimum, $500,000 a year. It's a big stage. We've got, this year we have John Maxwell, Jesse Itzler, Sarah Blakely, Kevin Harrington, Rand Fishkin, Daryl Eves,
Molly Pittman.
It's a big stage, powerful people,
Yeah.
but only 250 spots. That's it, which means it's a small room. It's very
intimate,
networking driven, very functional. If you want to shake someone's hand, my gosh, you could do it. Most of the celebrity speakers and the people we bring stay the entire event, not all, but most. And it's just a really great, incredible community. We encourage people to bring their families and kids. We have a kids camp. There's a huge spa located in Costa Rica. I don't know. It's a beautiful, amazing event. Karen and I personally try to get to know every single person that's going to the event before they get there. And no pitches. We do have sponsors, but there's no booths or anything like that.
It is one stage, which I personally love because I always feel like I'm missing out when there's like multiple stages and I'm like, I want to have all the topics. Yeah. And so we decided to do one stage. Okay,
that's good.
Yeah. And so it's a great opportunity also for the speakers to connect with everybody.
Sure.
Because we're immersed in Costa Rica. Literally, if you want to have lunch, everybody else is having lunch right at the same time. And so it's kind of like high school where you go and like, where do I sit? Can we like be with people and just like connect there? So it has been an amazing opportunity for people to like partner, to like network, to just, again, with that search of knowledge that we have, how can we learn from each other, leverage our strengths, and work on our weaknesses by connecting with people.
I was really going to be where I was going with it. What's the overarching mission or goal with the Commitment Summit? Why did you guys start it? What's the purpose behind it every year?
So the purpose of us is twofold. So number one, whenever you go to these events, there's really 2 things you get from it. One is speakers that have actually done it. If you had a lot of stages, we're marketers. We can pitch our way onto a stage and make something sound like it's been incredible and what maybe it's not quite. And so this stage, there's no way to buy your way on the stage. Like every speaker has done it, has been there. Like we're very picky. And so we do believe we have one of the best stages that are around. And then the second one is what you just said, like our event, it's $6,000 for a standard ticket. It's not cheap event. Like it filters the room quite a bit.
Sure.
And so you're networking with these other people. And then you have a lot of these little things we didn't even plan on. I'll give you an example. We have another big event that we are very much a part of in San Diego. And the speakers, the big ones, they fly in, they come in the back door, they jump on stage, they do their QA, they do an incredible job. They walk out the back door, they get on a flight and go back to their home. Like every time. You can't do that in Costa Rica. And there's no other restaurants. Like
you got a captive audience for at least a couple of days, if nothing else.
Yeah. So for example, Jesse Itzler came, he's going to go eat breakfast somewhere at the resort. There's only 7 restaurants. He's going to go eat dinner and he's going to go eat lunch somewhere. And that's for 3 days. That's really cool. The amount of people that would text us and go, dude, I'm literally having breakfast with Jesse right now.
Our team, like the coolest thing, our team, because we take all of our managers and directors and be at that level to the event. Our team was having like a hangout time by the hammocks with Jesse Itzler, like one of the days. It was the coolest thing because they were able to connect. And that's actually one of the things that I'm the most proud of, I think, from the event, is just to be able to show, the people that are working on the campaigns on a day-to-day basis or talking to our clients, like this is the real impact that you're able to have. Just the change in mindset of the business owners. These guys are really changing lives by creating businesses, creating jobs. And so it's an amazing opportunity there.
I'm definitely looking forward to coming and taking a lot of notes for the Marketing Center of Excellence. We're all about best practices, and I know the room and the speakers and the stage is going to be filled with a whole, how many days? 3 days, right? Full days?
3 days, yeah. 4 nights,
3 full days of best practices and learning from some of the world's greatest minds and speakers too. John Maxwell is just a really good speaker. Besides just having a lot of experience, he can just impart on you. He's a really good speaker.
Yeah.
And Maxwell's doing actually, if you're a VIP ticket, you come a day early, and John Maxwell's going to be doing a 3-hour, 4-hour masterclass just with VIPs. Workshop. Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah.
So tell us about Hite Digital. I know you guys have had really amazing success there. You're helping some, call them agency owners. A lot of them were agency owners before they became more of a franchise owner with Hite. And I've been able to just, in my travels in social media and the marketing world, I've really been able to see many of them be successful. I've even seen some who struggled and then became a franchise owner in the last year or so and are just like hit this curve. So share some secrets, some best practices with what's that formula that you help those agencies with. I know there's definitely some real reasons for that.
So you're more like about the vehicle itself, right? Whether you choose franchising or not, like just the vehicle itself. So when Karen and I exited, we left an agency. We had 350 employees, direct to consumer, Google ads. That's what we did before we started Hite. And when we started Hite, we got into the white label world, which we all know and love or hate or whatever. We all have experience doing white label. And we got in this world, and we were product people. Karen came from the ops side. I came from the product side. Like we felt we could do it better than anyone else. We had one of the fastest growing agencies in the US. Like I said, 350 employees, all doing Google ads. And that's what we built. And in the first 2 years of Hite, we grew to, let's say, 75 employees in 24 months from scratch, right? No debt, no investors, like in all accounts, successful. But when I was looking at the data, here's what I was seeing, and people can resonate with this probably. 25%, we were growing because we were getting more white label partners, because those partners were growing. About 20% of our partners would grow consistently. 5 clients, now 10, now 15, now 20. 40% of our partners would come in, and wherever they were at, 5, 10, 15, they would never grow. About 40% would die off. And this is normal. And so I kept talking to advisors, like, what does this look like? What does this look like? And here's what I found, like, in business, we discovered like there's 4 pillars of growth in an agency, and I think probably business overall. So just real quick, one is fulfillment product. It's got to be quality. It's got to be commendable. It's got to be consistent, right? One is operations. How are you managing all of these clients and all of these things happening? One is sales. Doesn't matter how big you get. If you're going to lose 10% of your clients, that compounds a lot over time. At my last agency, we had 1,500 clients. So at 8% churn, I had to sell 120 clients just to break even. It's just part of it, right? And then the fourth thing, and this is the one we had trouble putting into a box, is what we call business intelligence. So as an owner, making decisions, when to hire, when to fire, when to go out. Here's the problem in our world. Here's the problem, is that in the agency world, we have these 4 pillars. Every single agency has them. Maybe they're good, maybe they suck, maybe they're terrible. But here's the problem, is that they don't go together. What ends up happening is you have a white label company. That white label company is your head of product. So you work with a white label like Hite used to be. And you come to JC, like JC, then you talk fulfillment. And then operations. In our world, Sean Clark, GHL. That's like the leader in automation and systems, right? And then you have sales. Maybe you hired a coach for this, like a sales coach. Very common in our world. And then intelligence, you're reading books, you're looking at posts, you're online looking at all these communities. And here's the
hopefully not listening to everybody, but that happens a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
And BI,
And so what ends up happening is that these things don't go together. And so they'll reach out to JC, man, what should I do? I want to grow. Hey, you should think more about SEO. It's a long-term. And then they go to Sean. Sean says, you should focus on SaaS. And then they go to their sales coach. Like the easiest thing to sell is Facebook ads. And then they go. And so these things are in and of themselves are really great. But as an owner, if all 4 of your major departments are saying the opposite thing, right? So imagine a company like Ford, their head of sales were like, we can't sell trucks anymore. We can only sell cars. And then the engineers were like, we just hate building trucks or hate building cars. Trucks are so much easier to build and more efficient. And then operations was like, that doesn't matter because all the operations are geared towards electric vehicles anyway. It would never work. So So in the franchise model, we put ourselves in the same boat, right? And we're able to switch these things. Our operations match our fulfillment, and we give those operations to all of the agencies. The sales match what our talents are and our abilities are and how we fulfill on products, right? And then our intelligence is based on the data we're getting across everyone, because we have 25 agencies that all do things very similar, but also very different, and allows us to understand and read like what's happening, what's not. So, no, by the way, we're in the franchise model, and I'll just give a slight correlation here. Every industry that you can think of that's really scaled most of them are in some type of licensing or franchise model, whether it's real estate, whether it's food, whether it's shopping, whether it's everyone is in some Amazon, Walmart, every real estate company you can think of. In fact, I think last point I'll make, I think the agency world is very similar to real estate. 35 years ago, every realtor in the country was independent. No rules, there was no certificates, there were no laws. In fact, you normally didn't even sell your own product, kind of like white label. You sold someone else's land, someone else's, you got a commission off of it. And then one day, Century 21 came along, and they were like, dude, we're all doing the same thing. Let's just come together and let's make the best website. Let's make the best ops. Let's make the best at a fraction of the cost. They did that. And when's the last time you saw an independent realtor? It's very hard to compete with those things. How do we come together as an industry? We're all doing the same thing. We're all,
to an extent, yeah.
To a big extent, we're all doing the same thing. We're all selling the same services. We all position it different. So how do we utilize the assets that are really important, like heads of fulfillment, like heads of quality assurance, training and development, that normal agencies can't have, but as a shared resource, you can definitely afford.
What you really have done is you built your own center of excellence right there at Hite Digital, or that's really what it is. And then each of your 4 compartments are a subset of another center of excellence, and they're getting better and better at what they do. But I can definitely understand, and I'm sure agency owners who are listening to this are going to identify with that, where you've got these, whether they're pillars or buckets in your business, and they're not cohesive. They're fragmented. They're not talking to each other. They're not all aligned and rowing in the same direction, which I love that analogy that you used when we were in our prep meeting. You talked about why don't you go ahead and explain it? Because that's a really good analogy. The rowboat and people aren't rowing together.
The boat analogy. Yeah. I see the agency world or entrepreneurship, right? Envision us all going out to war, right? Because we said this stuff is hard, right? So you think of all these different ships. And at the end of the day, a ship's a ship, right? So you have, my ship is made in Russia, yours is in China, yours is in the US. They all functionally work the same. And so we're all out at sea and we're all trying to go north. And what ends up happening is you go into coaching or you go into other places or you ask your friends, if I had a Russian ship and you had a Chinese ship, my mechanic could jump over and figure out somewhat what's going on. But let's face it, he only has a couple hours because he belongs to me. He jumps over, he understands, but it's gonna be really hard for him to find the problem because the manual's in Chinese, everything works different, the language is different, the methodology is different, the people and the culture of that ship is different, right? In the franchise model, what we've done is we've just said, hey, let's all buy the same ship, right? Same parts, same mechanics and structures. In fact, if your CEO goes down, we can throw another CEO from someone of the other agencies or your manager or whatever that goes down. If we don't have to buy your spare parts, me, mine, someone else. No, we all have one set of spare parts. Training is the same. One training college trains everyone. All these things, it just makes it compounds the power that we have as a fleet. And we're still our own ships. Some are small, some are big. Each ship has their own captain. In a franchise world, you own 100% of your business. There's no ownership owned by the franchisor. You're just licensing our name, our operations, our fulfillment, our strategy, our connections, and so on and so forth. And so I believe that as we look into the future, you're going to see either you're going to be a franchise model, right? Or you're going to be a conglomerate of some sort, because those guys can get their costs so affordable at scale and they just have that much more resources.
Yeah, you're tapped into that flywheel of resources for sure.
At Hite, we're just getting started, and I've got 17 people in just the learning and development department, which includes our teachers and our QA. 17 people doing nothing but making sure everyone is doing their job at the best of their abilities, right? Hard to start competing with those things, right?
Now, I know when we were talking too, and this really made sense too, is that for you guys personally, you had hit a certain level of success and you needed to really kind of level up your own learning just to learn from other people. I'm having to do that on the software side. Like I'm having to go to completely different pools of knowledge and people to level up my game as a CEO of a SaaS company and learn from different people. I know you've done that in the marketing agency world as well. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how and what you've learned, maybe a lesson or two you've learned, and how that would apply to other agency owners.
I can tell you from coming from, so like my background is more operations. Like I've implemented CRMs like Salesforce. So I'm very much of the details type of person. So when I came to our agency, to me, it was interesting. Actually, it wasn't interesting. It was like, why would people even invest in being in like a mastermind or being in like something like that? Why? Like, why would I pay money to somebody? I didn't understand that at that moment. So this journey for me of being part of like the education side has been like, in terms of what I've learned, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was saying. Like it's kind of like crazy to me to think that that was my mentality back then, because as you go into these struggles that JC mentioned in business, or the obstacles that you have to, there's only two ways to overcome them. Either you have the ways to do it yourself and you have to invest the time to come up with the solutions, or you can have a network of people that will help you to get the solution. And so you're not having to go from step 1 to 2 and 3 and 4. You're going from step 1 to step 5, right? And so now you're able to just move a lot quicker. And that's what we want to do. I feel like the only way for us to be able to provide the services that we need to provide and the quality of work that we need to provide for our clients is by being on top, like spearheading this, in whether it's in knowledge or in just operations, whatever it is, like we have to be always on top of it. And the only way to do that is to proactively look and search for that knowledge. And so we have through our masterminds, being able to talk about, for example, our next one's going to be branding and sales. There's always a different way to position yourself and still remaining true to your values, but there's always something that you can do. This thing is like constantly changing. Before you used to do webinars, then you shouldn't do webinars anymore. You have to do in person, and then all this stuff. So it's constantly shifting. And I think having the opportunity to see what's working for that person and how can implement maybe not exactly that, but a version of that for myself has been super enlightening for us. We didn't come into the business thinking that we were going to do an event in Costa Rica. Through this process of meeting people and getting to know them and what are the needs, it's the same thing that you have to do with your clients. Your clients are constantly telling you what they need from you to feel happy about the service, because product for us is, I would say, a little bit of the work that we have to do. Communication, the way that you explain things, the way that you make them feel that you care about their business, because you're not always giving them the best results, but you still have to provide like that service side. That's one of the components. And so I think this process for me has been just how do we stay on top of the game and how do we leverage and grow together? Because if there's something that I've learned is that I cannot be perfect in every single thing that I do, but having people that I can call, that I can reach out to, that can help me expand my lack of, or my weaknesses, my own weaknesses as a human, right? It's the best way to get ahead.
For sure. Yeah, it's a Think and Grow Rich principle from Napoleon Hill, the Mastermind Alliance. He talks about that, and you guys really exemplify that. You were just talking, it's really what you just communicated, Karen, was just this community of learning that you've created around you, which is really cool. Go ahead, JC. I know you were going to say something.
There's so many things you learn. We're very adamant. You can learn from anyone, like people below you, beside you. Like we learn from people at all levels, but there's a special thing about wisdom that comes from experience. And like I said, it's anyone who says they have it figured out is nuts. This is really tough. And it's tough at 200 people, no different than it was tough at 20 people and 10 and 5. It doesn't.
Every level has its own obstacles.
Yep.
Every revenue.
That's right.
Point, right?
And so we've learned a lot along the way, and we're constantly trying to figure out new things. And I every day I have a list of things like that I'm learning on a daily basis. And I'm just, I have these aha moments where I'm just like, JC, you're an idiot. What were you thinking? Why did you do that? This was obviously the right move for you. And so it's interesting.
I think
I had to know.
Oops, sorry. I was going to say,
please go ahead, Karen.
I wish we had that opportunity, like just getting started. We went into the mastermind and community world, I think a little bit later, like I cannot imagine where we would be today if we had started just learning from people from day one and just having that mentality, because it is a mindset thing as well. Like it comes from a third world, and we have a mindset of we have to keep things private. You cannot share what you're doing because somebody else can take that. And that is just it's insecurity of what you are and what's your value, what you're bringing a value to the world.
One of the things that I really appreciate about both of you, and you exhibit it differently, especially because I've gotten to know you just through Facebook. It hasn't been a super long time, but there's a real thirst for knowledge and learning, and then sharing what you're learning actively with your tribe, your community. And I really appreciate that about you. And it really goes to what you were just saying, Karen, because you do give your best away. It's not the scarcity mindset. You both are very abundant in what you give to the world. And you do have some really big visions. Tell us a little bit about not just the business itself, but the business is really also a lever point or a way for you guys to do some even bigger things in your community. Talk about that for a minute or so.
So our commitment is to create 1,000 jobs. That's the stupid thing that we feel that we, for some reason, want to do. It's like when Karen and I first got married, I was like, I want 6 children. I want a big family. And then I had 1 child and I'm like, maybe 3.
2.
And then I had 2 and I'm like, maybe 2.
We're at 2. Yeah, that's it.
You have 2 now?
But in all seriousness, I feel God has put it on our hearts to, like I said before, we live in a very unstable part of the world. And that's tough. It's tough for moms and dads. It's tough for kids. And I grew up in a bit of an unstable home when I was younger. And it crushes my soul to think about that. And so at Hite, we actually literally believe that God can, through Hite, literally change a nation. And so our goal, our commitment is to get to 1,000 employees. At 1,000 employees, just so you know, some logistics there. Number one, with what we pay today as just a 4-year-old, 5-year-old company, if what we pay today multiplied by 1,000 would make us the highest economic provider in the country besides the government. The second highest is the beer companies, cervecería. Entonces, the money that's filtered from the poor to the poor, right? It rotates. So obviously this is huge. Our money comes from the US and from Europe, where all of our clients are. Number 2, every single team member at Hite, we pay for their kids on scholarship to go to private schools. Private schools in Nicaragua are incredible. Like our kids are fully bilingual, like just stupid, great schools, but they're expensive. And so if you look at the top 3 or 4 of the best, quote unquote, there's about 1,500 kids. So we believe we can actually dramatically increase that percentage just within Hite. And then you look at the competitive nature. Almost every billionaire in the country has been in our office and we love them to death. And what we're doing with our benefits and how we pay and how we serve our people, the reality is everyone else will have to step up, or else the best talent is going to come work for us. And so we're going to force,
you're a force multiplier.
Yeah, with the tide, all boats rise or something like this. And so I can't remember what the saying is, but we believe we can literally raise the tide. And Nicaragua, which is where we primarily focus, is just such a beautiful country. We're 3 hours from Miami. We're so close to you guys. If you're in Florida, you're closer to we are than you are to California or Texas even. So we're in your backyard, yet 3rd grade, 4th grade education. That's the average. That's insane. And so we believe that through capitalism, through Hite, through our hard work, through serving our clients in an incredible way, we can literally, in a stupid way, just literally change a nation.
And we have seen all the stuff that we're talking, we have seen it in our lives. Like I got a scholarship to go to the US and I got a full ride to have my whole university paid for. And my commitment was to come back and give back the 4 years that I was in school. And I ended up obviously staying. But that just one thing just changed my life completely. I was able to get better opportunities. So I think hopefully we'll see it, but I have the hope that we will never even see the extent of the impact that we're able to do.
It'll be generational for sure.
Yes.
That's right.
Which I want to, for our audience, I want to just maybe highlight that for a second, that JC and Karen are thinking in generational terms, not just the next transaction and paying the bills this month or something. Like you got to have a bigger vision. And that, I think, I know for you guys, that's what fuels that engine. That's what fuels that commitment, is this bigger purpose behind what you're doing. And that's a spiritual component of who we are as people. If we don't have a purpose behind us, we just are like a kind of a rudderless ship. And we're all on a boat, as JC put it. But if you're in your agency boat without a rudder, you're in a lot of danger. And so I know this bigger vision of impacting your community, of impacting not just your community, because that's even sometimes it can almost dehumanize it. Because when you look in the face of a mom or a dad employee at Hite and their kids are going to a school and now they see this opportunity that Karen just described that gave her that inflection point in her life. Now they see their kids getting that opportunity. I mean, that just spirals in all sorts of amazing ways in that local community area for sure.
And that all ties in. Someone asked me the other day, we were talking about competitive advantages. And nowadays companies, the common thing is you need your unique selling point, right? I'm not a big fan of unique selling point. I think most companies in the world that are successful are duplicates. I'm sitting in front of a bank right here. Banks around the world act all the same. Real estate, all the same. Restaurants,
there's literally
all
two
the
banks
same.
right there.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's duplicates. So there's a recipe to the success and you don't necessarily be the crazy unique, right? But within this, Hite, I believe our competitive advantage is actually, oddly enough, it's our ability to retain talent. So in the agency space, on average, it's about 20 to 25% turnover. Any agency that has above 20 employees, anybody can retain one team member and manage that one person and give them so much love they stay. But if you're above 20 team members, the average is 25% in our industry turnover. Why? Because it's such a low barrier of entry, right? At Hite, we have closer to 7% turnover. And the people that do live us end up going to Amazon or leading big company marketing firms. And our average exit is around 3x. So if you leave Hite, you're going to get paid around 3x what we pay.
Wow, that's awesome.
Pay very competitively. And so this is huge. Because even if I have a saying that maybe isn't politically correct, but like even a stupid employee that's been around for 4 years has got to be pretty daggum smart. Even if you're dumb, after 4 years of doing the same thing over and over again, you learn the system, learn the ways, you learn. And so I obviously want the smartest people in the world, and I think we do, but you compound that by 4 years of knowing Hite, man, these guys can do a lot of stuff. They can fill in different roles. They know how we operate. They know our systems. They know our belief. They know how to coach. And so when you can have an organization that's growing and scaling, but retaining talent, it is such a huge advantage when it comes to serving clients.
That's one of those subtle competitive advantages. Like you say, maybe it's not a USP per se, but the competitive advantage of that, of retaining talent and what that does in terms of momentum and velocity at a company is huge for sure. Not to mention that that's the whole environment, then the culture. If people are wanting to stay, that culture is awesome, and it creates more excellence and a commitment to excellence for you and your clients too. Yeah. JC, you want to leave us with Karen? JC went first. Sorry, Karen. So Karen, do you want to give us what one of your greatest secrets to success has been along the way?
Man, I have to think about it a little bit.
You had the whole call to think about it.
Yeah, sorry. I was just like so invested. I think for us, you mentioned the commitment. And I think for us is, just to recap on our conversations, that focus on people. I think that is like the one thing that has made the difference. That, when somebody gets sick, how can you create that unbelievable level of service, right? For even your teammates, like just taking what you would do for your clients. If one of your clients were to have an awful thing in their family, you would at least send flowers. So you would do something to make them feel special. How can you take that into your own company and create those opportunities to build relationships with people that at the end of the day, they're your main fuel? Like it's 90% people what we're doing. And I don't know about Chat GPT, whatever, that has all this AI happening right now. But I feel like for a while, this will continue to be that way. And so focusing on loving people and showing them that you truly care, and that through your actions, we went through COVID, we all did. Like one of our big goals for that was, and it was a scary thing to do, was we didn't fire anybody. We didn't downgrade anybody's salary. So you show them, especially at the worst times, that you are truly a family and that this is they are your best interest. I think that's one of the things that for us has been a very crucial thing, because when we need that love back, which you will as an entrepreneur, you go through tough moments where you need your team to step up How do you show them first? I think you have to you each have to show your commitment first to them so you can receive that.
We have, since day one, I have personally never been the highest paid person at Hite. The moment I pay myself, I'm already motivated, right, to grow the business, to scale it as much as I can. And so many of us, our goal is I want to pay myself 10, 15, 20, and that's cool, beautiful, wonderful. But if you want to scale, leaving that money in the business as much as possible and investing in an incredible talent and incentivizing them to also be on that mission with you is huge. To this day, I am personally, literally, my salary is not the highest paid. Now, there's not a lot of people that make less than me, but we've got a handful of people that make at or even above what I make. And I think that's that method, the mindset of if I can serve 200 people, I have 200 people serving me is a lot more powerful than just me serving me. And as Karen said there, how can you invest and love on your team as much as humanly possible? And we have a nursery. We take every single team member out of the country at least once a year to an end of the year party. Literally take everyone and their families and their kids. Every kid is on scholarship. If someone's sick, we try to go in and pay the hospital bills or anything like that. Anytime we can, we try to jump in. And love covers a multitude of sins. So as an employer, if you love people just to the greatest, it'll make up for a lot of faults that you have in your business.
So you both really said the same thing right there in terms of your what's been responsible for your success, and it's just loving people and caring about people. I hear that kind of theme over and over again, and it's exhibited not just in words but in actions and real tangible areas in your business. So first of all, I want to congratulate you for doing that, because it isn't common. It is pretty uncommon we live in a very fast-paced world. The agency owners were hit with a ton of marketing, and the pace is just incredible. And it's really easy to fall into the trap of not caring about people, just getting stuff done and we got to make the money, got to pay the bills, we can literally start to just almost harden our hearts around the need that's around us. And so if there's one thing that we can learn from JC and Karen Hite is that they've seen needs but their eyes are looking for it. And then they care. You combine that with a care and a heart, a love for people, and you're going to have huge success. God is blessing you, if nothing else. You're going to have what I see is that I think of the butterfly effect, when you affect one person, but then they go out and they affect 2 other people, and then they go out and affect 5 other people. And it's amazing to think about not only the impact you're already having and have had, but as this butterfly effect continues at Hite Digital and what you're going to do to a country and changing the lives of literally generations of people is really amazing. So hats off to both of you.
Thank you.
You're a little unique in that you're also a husband and wife working together. I've been married for 25 years. And so I've gotten to enjoy just watching you both work together, and some things, the joke about shaving heads at the commitment summit, all that.
It's growing back.
It's not easy working together as a husband and wife. What's 1 or 2 tips that you have for those who might be spouses who work together and want to work together? What makes it work for you guys?
Don't do it. Just kidding.
We're very conscious of looking for our own boundaries, right? I run Hite, our agency, and everything that it encompasses, and she runs all of our education, which includes our event and our mastermind. And we really allow each other to own those. And then we ask for support as needed, right? We are very different in how we work, and we don't have the borders of you're my boss and I have respect for you of whatever you say. And so as a
Latina, that's really hard. Just let me tell you.
And so I think for us, just understanding where the boundaries are and always creating new ones and understanding has been probably our biggest point of focus. And just know it is not for everyone, because it is really tough at times. Yeah. And it takes a very special wife and a very special husband probably to actually pull it off. And anyone that figures it out, you can let us know, because I don't think we've actually figured it out in any perfect format yet. But
I think it has, you mentioned creating boundaries, but I think even more understanding each other's strengths and benefiting from that, working together. I am very much of I need the details when JC comes with a big idea, but I need him to come up with a big idea so then I can come up with the details. So it's, and it annoys him.
Which is annoying.
And it annoys me as well. But we've learned to communicate. I think it's a big deal.
It is easier as you grow the team, right?
Yeah,
so I'm not going to Karen for every single thing.
Sure.
I have a big team. There's a lot of people in between us as well. So even though we do work together, her office is in the opposite corner of my office. And
what are people going to think? They're going to think like we keep each other stuff.
that's my point, is know your boundaries. So we have one car. We don't have two cars. We have one car. We do everything together. That's the way we like it and enjoy it. We're weird like that, but it's not for.
Yeah. Understanding your own formula, I think your own, what works for you.
Awesome. I have one more question for you guys, and I'm going to let you go. This gets into more of the personal, a little bit deeper about each of you. When you're a person who cares and who thinks about people and does specific things to help people, that comes from somewhere. Who or where or what was it that, and maybe it's a combination of who, what, and where, but where did you get that from? Who did you learn it from? Who modeled it for you? Who gave, like, we get those hearts from people that have impacted us, or from sometimes traumas, or sometimes it's a mom or a dad. Who did you learn it from? Who did you get it from? Or where? Or what?
So for me, I think it's a combination of, number one, we love everyone. We don't judge for whatever situation people are in. And I think it's a foundational aspect of kind of where we're at. And then we're always wanting to help. For me, I think I gained those traits. I grew up with divorced parents. My mom was very rough around the edges, grew up in a trailer park most of the time. She was married 9 times, I believe, in total. Very unstable, incredibly unstable world. Alcohol, drugs, you name it. But my dad was remarried when I was very young. I don't remember him ever not be married. Church every Sunday, church every Wednesday. Beautiful white picket fence with a pool. Middle class. And love God, love serving. And so I grew up in these two very opposite worlds. Like literally jumped in my dad's car when I'd go visit him, and it was just, yes, sir, no, sir. And then jumped in my mom's car. And so I learned to love both sides of the fence and really understand that who we are is not where we're at. It's much deeper than that. But then through that, also gained the love of how both my mom and my dad loved people. My mom in a very different way and very unbalanced way, but my dad's family was just as generous as you could be. Everything else, I look at my path, and you're probably like this. I believe God has just done stuff. Looking back, stuff doesn't make sense that happened. It didn't make sense that I ended up in Nicaragua. No one knows where Nicaragua is. If you're listening and you know that, you're like top 1%. And then we end up in the agency world. I worked in finance for 8 years. God has really cool things that he's pushed us along this way, and we're very open to being pushed, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, she's had experiments. I think for me, my mom, I think it's like the biggest person that I've learned this from. She's one of those people that would give to a fault. Like, she will give you anything she has. And she says this thing, I don't know who said it first, but she also tells this to me in translation. If you don't live to serve, then you don't serve to live. It's kind of like, it translates really harsh in English, but it's that I've learned throughout my whole life that is what you should be doing. And she's very strong about it. And so I've seen her life and how God has worked through her life, and things that I'm like, how is she gonna do this now? Like, she's always good. She's always taken care of with the things that she needs, her basic needs. And I think that has taught me that at the end of the day, we have our basic needs met. We don't need to have like crazy stuff. That's not what fulfills you in life. So when you I think to have that perspective, and I am actually really grateful to have been brought in a third world country and working with people in the US, I can see that. You can see like that a constant need for more superficial stuff that at the end of the day, it's not going to fulfill you. And I'm not trying to generalize this. I know there's amazing people that I've met through this connections, but I've seen that also as well. And so I just think that has been the one thing, because that has allowed us to, when we got married, for example, that was one of the experiences that we had. We lost it all in the first year of marriage. So imagine like being newlyweds and then having to move to your dad's mate's quarters.
I just lost it all. When we got married, I had a Cessna airplane, a custom Harley Davidson, 3,800 square foot home in Nashville.
49 houses.
49 total, no, 52, something like that. Houses, real estate houses, rental properties, and was a financial advisor. And
then we moved to my dad's maid's quarters, which was where the cleaning lady used to sleep when she came, a twin size bed. But that year was like the best year of our life. Like that, it was the best way for us to get started in our marriage, because now we're like, I would not want to.
The first year of our marriage, a twin size bed for the year and a toilet 5 feet away from that bed.
What was it? What precipitated that? Was it the crash?
So when we got married, I moved to Nicaragua. I had all this real estate. We were doing very well. Management company in 2008 hit, and we couldn't re-rent. We couldn't do anything. Ended up losing every bit of our real estate. At the same time, I had just left my actual job where I made money, and literally we did not go bankrupt. My granddad gave us a $50,000 loan to cover the remaining stuff that we needed to at a 6% interest rate. And we moved into the maid's quarters of her dad's house for a year to build up the foundation. I never remember us sad or angry, or it was just, we just did it. But
it's easier with kids. So I wouldn't like to do that again with my kids. But yeah, we learned a lot.
That was 9 years ago. So.
Yeah, 12 years ago, 2008. Actually, now 2023. We're 15 years ago now, 2008. But my wife and I went through much the same things. I was in finance as well when the crash hit, and we lost everything: homes and land and businesses. And our kids were 2 and 4 at the time. And I still remember the night and the bed I was sleeping in. When I woke up, actually, I was having a hard time going to sleep, but I woke up wondering how we were going to pay the bills the following week and put groceries on the table. And I had never been in that position personally in my life ever before. Yeah, that'll change you for sure. But you guys, my wife and I stuck together. It didn't, instead of bickering and fighting with each other, we just, banded together, and it was just God teaching us some hard lessons, some good lessons, and some life-changing ones, and some eternity-changing ones too, for sure.
That's right.
You guys are awesome. I really appreciate your time. It's been a really good time just interviewing you, talking to you. Our audience is going to be just in store for a really great 45, 50 minutes with you. So thank you very much.